Welcome to the Real Appreciation Podcast. I am David Clair-Bennett, and I don't know if I should be terrified or excited about today's guest, but I'm leaning more towards excited because today I have with me the man, the artist, if you will, behind the art. He is a fellow actor and voice actor just like myself, most known for his portrayal as Art the Clown in the Terrifier films. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, David Howard Thornton.
Hey man, how you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great, man. It is genuinely a pleasure to have this version of you right here.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to actually be myself and not covered in makeup for once. So,
How long does that take?
too long. It takes about 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on like what we have to do for the scene. It's like if I have just simple stuff, easy. Like when we have to match blood continuity and battle damage. That's when it takes a little bit longer.
But what is it like to be known as one of the most pun absolutely intended terrifying characters in today's modern horror?
It's a little bit surreal. I don't, it's been about 6 years since the first film came out, and it still hasn't really sunk in yet. It just it just feels like a whole out of body experience for me. So I'm thrilled by it, but still I'm just like, no, this can't be real. I keep on waiting for like to wake up and like, oh, that was all a dream. So I'm very happy though. It's just definitely just awesome. It's just awesome. There's another way to say it. It's just awesome.
It is awesome, man. There's Jason, there's Freddy, Michael Myers, Jigsaw, all these established names already in the industry of horror, and which I love with all my heart. And then there's Art the Clown. Yes, and then there's Art the Clown. Dude, you freaking made it. That's legend status right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in such a short amount of time, too, compared to those other icons in horror. You said just 6 years ago the first Terrifier released. And here we are already. Freddy and Jason have been around for, 40 years, including, like, Leatherface?
Yeah, Leatherface is like I guess you could say he's the oldest of the horror icons. It's got to be like 50 years now. So I'm like, that's insane to think. But it's just like, yeah, here we are. And I'm like, I love those guys. So to like just even be lumped in with that same group of villains is something else. I feel like I'm joining like the Injustice League in that way. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm like Spider-Man. I'm like, hey, guys, let me in.
Well, why do you think people have gravitated so well towards Art the Clown?
I think it's because he's like a mix of all those icons that came before him. And you have that sinister, silent nature that you have with like Michael Myers and Jason. You have that sadistic side of the torturous side of like Jigsaw and Pinhead, and then you have that mischievous side that you have from like got Freddy and Chucky and those type of villains. So it's like, or even like the Leprechaun, all that. So I think that's what people like about him. He has all those elements to him. He's kind of like a love letter to slasher icons in a way, and he's just a fun, mischievous little asshole. So I'm like, I love him. I love him. I have a lot of fun with him, and I think that in itself kind of like plays into why people like him too, is because I think people can tell I have fun playing him.
Does he ever die? Will he ever die?
I mean, he has died, but he came back from the dead. He's actually come back from the dead more than Jesus has now, I think. So.
And that really does add to the character, though, overall.
Yeah, so I think that's the fun nature of him. He's like he has some kind of agency behind him too. It's like especially when the first time he died, he didn't know he was going to come back from the dead. So that whole realization was like, oh my God, I'm back from the dead. Oh, cool. I have more powers now. Cool. I'm going to have a lot more fun. So that's like, he's like, I'm just going to go out and see what I can do. And now when he comes back again for part 2, again, it's like, okay, I'm going to have even more fun now and wreak all kinds of havoc, especially with Sienna. So I think he's scary that way because of that. He's like, he's totally like, okay, all the gloves are off. I'm just going to go hog wild, and I don't have to worry about dying in that way. But who knows? There might be a weakness that he has there he didn't know.
Well, if you haven't learned or noticed already, I am a diehard horror fanatic. I'm a horror movie filmmaker, filmmaker, screenwriter, everything. So shout out to the horror community and the Mutant Fam online. But I truly would place the Terrifier series in my top 3 horror franchises of all time.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I really would. And I'm friends with a lot of people behind the scenes in the Saw world, and that's like my all-time favorite.
Love. I still say like the first film has probably one of the best plot twists I have ever seen in a movie. Because I'm so glad no one spoiled that for me when I saw Saw. I saw that. I saw Saw with my, and oh my gosh. But like my best friend and I were watching it at his house, and neither one of us knew about that plot twist. So like when he gets off the floor at the end of the movie, we both just jumped off the couch. We're like, oh my God, we're already enjoying the movie, but that was like, okay, you've got us, you've got us, you've got us. This is fantastic. And so that means a lot because I love that franchise. Of course, love the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I love the Chucky franchise. I love the Scream franchise, going off of your shirt there. I mean, so just to even be considered with the greats is amazing to me.
Well, anyway, to get back on topic, sorry, my ADD side quest.
Easy. Yeah, I'm a gamer, so I understand about getting lost on side quests. I do that all the time myself.
Okay, so we're on the same page here. So I had to sit down and really think about this one. But what I'm the most obsessed with these films about is art's brutal creativity in the kill scenes. So I've got to ask you, David, is there a scene that's made you think, hey, we might have gone too far this time?
I think definitely that scene, the bedroom scene in part 2 is one of those, because that's one where Damien and I were definitely like, when we're coming up with ideas for that, we're just like, let's see how far we can go with this. Let's just go for it to see how much we can just push the envelope and see how much we can repulse an audience and stuff like that. So, and we always just take that now as a challenge going forward. Like what can we do to really try to up what we have already done? And we definitely have some crazy moments in part 3 that do that, just over the top, and some of them are really creative. There's one especially that I really particularly loved. It made me feel like a Batman villain at one point, so I had a lot of fun with that kill. So I was like, I'm very excited. I wish I could talk about those ones. I'm like,
maybe in a future episode we can.
Exactly.
Well, I remember what sold me the most about going to the theaters to see Terrifier 2 a few years ago was the infamous barf bag stories, and probably in particular pertaining to the scene you just mentioned, in the bedroom scene. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
So Terrifier 2 is literally making people vomit in the theater. How cool does it feel to know that you're partially responsible for that?
That was amazing. And it's like one of the best bits of publicity we had is like something we couldn't even plan ourselves. Was there's this great image of this guy sitting outside of the theater doors with a paramedic attending to him, and they have a poster of Terrifier 2 right behind him. I'm like, that is fantastic. That's a great image, because we got so many people that were like, oh, this has got to be publicity. These guys are paying for this kind of publicity. Like, no, we don't have that kind of budget to do that. That was all natural word of mouth, like people posting. I mean, people would send like Damien and I videos of their theater experiences. Like I saw one where some guy just basically had a seizure during the middle of the bedroom scene because he just couldn't handle it. I'm like, oh my God, I hope he's okay. But it's just to know that people are having those kind of reactions is something else. That means that what we were doing is really affecting people, and that's what we were hoping for. You got people talking.
Terrifier 2 is the first movie I took my girlfriend to.
Oh, really? That's amazing. And she's still with you?
Yes, surprisingly.
That's great, because I took a girl when Paranormal Activity came out. I took her on a date to go see that, and she broke up with me because of that movie, because she could not sleep for a week. She's like, it's nothing personal against you. I'm just always going to equate you with that movie. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess. And she found her husband shortly after. So I'm like, I guess it worked out for her. And it worked out for me in other ways too. So, hey, it's all good. But so that's good that, your girlfriend was like, hey, this is cool.
Hey, she's a fan. Whenever I told her about this interview, she's like, holy shit, that's crazy.
That's cool. That's cool. Tell her hi for me then. It's okay, like, y'all going to have a fun time having date night on part 2, especially one scene in there. So
her name's Katie, so shout her out.
Oh, great. Hey, Katie. Have fun.
We will October 11th.
Oh my God. Yes. And speaking of the puke bags, I always because I get this question a lot. I feel like I might as well address it. Like people were talking have asked me, is it true that I almost puked myself on the set of part three? And that is very, very true. That was not publicity that we're making up. That we have that on camera of me just on the side is trying to compose myself because it's Damien knows there's one thing that really grosses me out, and I feel like he specifically put that into this script just to see if he could get me, and he did. And I didn't spew, but I almost did.
Wow, he
I
almost
was even
got you.
like, can I get my stunt double to come in and just be my arm right now? Like, no, Dave, you got to do it because your face is in frame. I'm like, oh, I hate you guys so much right now. I hate you all. And then my co-star Samantha Scafidi, just as she wasn't in the scene, so she just comes down and just watch what's going on, and she's just eating this horrible, smelly bag of corn nuts, wearing that horrible makeup she's wearing too. And I'm like, oh, you're just making it worse, Sam. And she's like, why? What's wrong, David? So she's just trying to get me to spew too. So everybody was just having fun. Like, let's try and get David to spew. And we're in the house we were in was like really hot and stinky and stuff like that. So it was just bad. It was a bad day for me, but it made for a great story. So I hope they eventually release that footage after the movie comes out, just so people can see that this really did happen.
Put it on the bonus features.
Yeah, that's what I think. I was like, you got to put this on the bonus features at least. This is gold. I was like, as much as I was like, oh, this is horrible. I was also fully entertained by that whole entire moment.
What's it like knowing you played a role in the increased sales of sunflower glasses since you're seen from the Halloween store in Terrifier 2?
That's insane. I wonder how those people that have made those glasses have felt because those probably weren't selling that much, and all of a sudden they just were like, "Wow, what's this with this inventory?" All of a sudden moving really fast. So I hope they appreciate that now. It's just like that was something we didn't even anticipate. Like Damien and I thought people were gonna go a little bit crazier over like the hand glasses, since that was like a reference to part one, or the spring glasses or something like that. I wasn't expecting the sunflower glasses, but I'm like, hey, that's cool. I love it.
What started as a little indie project has gone on to become such a mainstream phenomenon, even catching the eyes of Pete Davidson, which leads me to my next question. You were in an episode of his show Bupkis. How did that opportunity come about for you, and what is it like working with Pete?
Oh my God, that came about because he's been a huge Terrifier fan since the first film. He was like, apparently when he was on Saturday Night Live, he would show the other castmates and guests. They're like, hey, you got to see this movie, come in, and they could just show them the hacksaw scene or something like that, just to mess with people. So like when part two came out, he knew that he found out that Damien lived on Staten Island as well. So he rented out a whole entire theater just for Damien, our producer Phil, and him to sit there and watch the movie together. And he's such a huge fan. And I just get a message, like I was coming back from the premiere for the Mean One out here in LA, and because I was living in New York at the time, and I get a message from my agent. It's like, hey, Pete Davidson wants you to be on his show. Can you do this? You just got to be on set tomorrow. I'm like, I'll find a way to be there. Yeah, hell yeah. And it's just this a small little cameo, and I was like, just because he wanted, with that show, especially that segment in the show, he wanted to have a lot of like people that he really liked in this hallucination he was having, and that was such a surreal experience to just walk in there, and there's all these celebrities in this room, and all these executives from NBC and like all that there, and I was like, this is insane. And they're just like, here's some props, just play around and do some silly things. And so it was fun having like that captive audience, and Pete's just going nuts the whole entire time. He was laughing his head off. He's a really cool dude. He's like he's very real. He's a very real guy, and that's what I like about him.
Terrifier 3 releases this October, and the internet went absolutely bonkers when that Christmas-themed teaser dropped a few months ago. What can you tell us about that scene in particular, if anything at all?
It's definitely going to be controversial. Yeah, I can't really say much about it because I don't want to ruin much about it, but
Right.
you see some glimpses of it also in the teaser trailer, with Chrissy Fox's character and stuff like that. So it's definitely an extended version of that scene. So that was just like a premise of what we were going to do. We totally went back to the drawing board and reworked some things, but it's definitely going to be a controversial scene. I think it's going to be a great way to start the film too. I don't think that's really spoiling anything, but it's a fun way to get people, just grab them there at the very beginning. Like, this is Terrifier 3, get ready.
Art the Clown has already taken things to the extreme before, as we've seen. How does he up the ante in this upcoming Terrifier movie?
He definitely has a higher body count for sure. And I think also with the Christmas themes, he's able to do some more creative kills this time. There's one kill I'm very, very thrilled about. I was very thrilled about doing because I thought it was really creative, and I can't wait to see how people respond to it because I think it's hysterical. And I think it's really creative. I've never seen anything like that done before in a movie. And we have some other very brutal kills in this movie too, and including the one that made me sick. So it's like I'm very excited. I had a lot of fun filming this one, especially the kill scenes in this. I had the most fun filming this film than I did the previous two films. So I really got to play a lot. Damien gave me a lot of opportunities to really, like how you have the costume shop scene in part 2, or like the pizzeria scene. He's given me some more of those types of scenes in part 3. So I really had a lot of fun with those scenes, and I really had fun with when the inevitable confrontation between the hero and the villain of this film. That was a lot of fun to do too. I think people are going to be very happy with that.
Damien seems like a wonderful guy to work with.
Oh, very much so. But it's not just him this time too. It's just like he since we had a little bit of a bigger budget, we were able to hire a fantastic makeup team that really helped him out, because then he was able to focus more on directing instead of having to worry about building all the practical effects himself. So I think that freed Damien up to really focus more on the aesthetics of the film and the characters and everything like that. And it was Christian Tinsley's team that came in. They're award-winning makeup effects team that did like The Passion of the Christ and like Brenfield and other films. And they built some amazing things for this film that I think they just helped us come to a new level with the kills in it.
Well, as we wind down here, I want to take the time to be thankful and express gratitude as well as appreciation. Every morning when I wake up and before I go to bed, I say 3 things that I'm grateful for. So with that being said, David, I'd like to reverse the question onto you by asking you, what are 3 things you're grateful for right now?
Gosh, I would say the first one I would definitely say the fans. Is the fans that got us to where we are right now. This is a total underdog project from the get-go with the first film. We made it on $35,000. We wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for the fans, just going out there and talking about the film. And that happened with the first film, then it happened with the second film. That's how we were able to go from a very limited run to like a 6-week run in thousands of theaters nationwide and later on worldwide. So I would say that's the first thing I'm grateful for. Second thing I'm grateful for is just this type of opportunity. It's just like I never imagined I'd be able to do anything like this with my life. It's something I just chanced upon. I was, a struggling actor in New York City, waiting tables for 13 years, doing side acting jobs. So this came along and changed my life. And I would say that the third thing ties directly into that is Damien Leone. I am so grateful for this man. He is. I'm so happy that he's finally getting the recognition for his abilities. He is an insanely talented man. I mean, he wears so many hats on the production side of things. He writes the scripts. He films everything. He directs everything. He does the editing. He does practical effects. And he's the hardest working man I know in the business right now. This man has worked his butt off for this franchise. He believes in it so much, and he's doing whatever he will go like days sometimes without sleep just to make sure he's getting an edit in on time, or he just preparing practical effects for the next day for shooting. He sacrifices so much for himself just for this project. And I am so happy to see that he is now finally getting recognized for his abilities as an artist. He is a true talent. You don't see people like that in this world, and he's such a genuine guy. He is such a wonderful, caring individual. He treats everybody on the set down to the lowest PA, as some people might say, as part of the family, and as everybody's equally valuable to what we're doing. And he's a great captain to have on the ship. It's like, if you're going to have a captain, this is the type of captain you need to have guiding you forward. So I'm eternally grateful to Damien Leone. That this man is amazing, and I'm so lucky to be able to work with him and basically almost call him like a brother. So yeah. He's a cool dude.
Terrifier 3 hits theaters not too far from my birthday, but on October 11, 2024. Real quick before we go, what kind of Art the Clown exclusive popcorn bucket are you hoping to see get made?
I want to see his head. I think especially knowing how part 2 ends with his head being reborn out of Victoria, I think that would be a perfect popcorn bucket. Everybody just eating popcorn out of the top of his head. I would love to see that happen. That would make me so happy.
AMC, you heard the man, make it happen.
Yes.
So David, where can people find you online?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads under David Howard Thornton. And I also want to plug 2 other movies in addition to Terrifier 3. Of course, there's I don't know when this airs, but hopefully by the time this airs, it might be out. Next Friday? Okay, it'll be perfect then. So when this airs, my newest film, Stream, which I made with a lot of the Terrifier team, is going to be in theaters for limited run. We're hoping that's going to go the way Terrifier 2 did, with the fans having an extended run in theaters and more theaters opening up. So it's all up to the fans. Like I said, grateful to the fans. So please help us with Stream as well. It has a bunch of legends from the horror world as well in it, like, oh God, Felissa Rose, Daniel Roebuck, Dave Sheridan, Dee Wallace, Danielle Harris, Bill Moseley, Jeffrey Combs, Tony Todd, and there's even more in this movie. And it's a love letter to the slasher genre as well, and it's made by a lot of the Terrifier team, so the kills are fantastic. You're going to have a fun ride. And then another film I'm having coming out in January, recently become public domain. I'm going to be playing Willie in Screamboat. So if you're a Disney fan, you're going to love this film as well. It's got a lot of fun jokes. It's a good horror comedy, as I would say. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming out in the next few months. So I'm excited for everybody to see what's coming out.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for doing this, David. I am David Clair-Bennett. He is David Howard Thornton. We are the Double Ds. I'm kidding. Don't cancel me.
We're such boobs.
Follow David on his socials listed in the description below, and please support independent horror. A lot of amazing people out there are working their freaking ass off to make these movies so personal and meaningful to them, and they deserve to be seen. So please support indie horror. Please support David's new movies coming out. Seriously, indie horror, I don't care what the budget is. Don't make fun of it. They are working their asses off on these movies.
That's great. That's perfectly said.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to Real Appreciation. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. We are